Hello, everyone. I'm Dharmesh Jani, co-chair of OCP Incubation Committee and Open Ecosystem Lead at Facebook. Welcome, everyone, to my talk. I'm super excited that you can join today. My talk is divided into three parts. The first part will cover the historic perspective of Open Compute project. The second part will cover some of the forcing functions or industry challenges which we face. And the third part will cover how Symposium can contribute to the open community driven by OCP. These are some of the specific asks which I have from Symposium community, and I will share my thoughts. So with that, let's get started. It's interesting to kind of transpose ourselves back more than 10 years and see where the industry was. It was a time when the rate of growth of big data centers was accelerating. The amount of servers deployed were growing from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions of servers. And the interesting thing was hyperscalers were building these data centers with bigger and bigger percentage of branded servers. That was the state around which Open Compute project was conceived. And it was based on two basic premises. As these data centers were built, the manageability and control of these data centers was becoming critical. You can imagine when you have millions of servers or even hundreds of thousands of servers, managing them at scale is a challenge. And the second part was to introduce innovation. As the needs were changing for builders like Facebook, you needed to have constant drive to bring new technologies and bring new innovation. So it was with that spirit, the Open Compute project began taking shape. And it was primarily conceived to achieve two simple things. Simplicity was at the heart of absolutely getting manageability and innovation under control. And how do you achieve simplicity? By standardization and disaggregation. Standardization lets you control things at scale, and disaggregation, separating hardware and software and breaking silos, allows you to introduce innovation in areas where we need. So with that, Open Compute project was launched in April of 2011 with spirit of bringing efficiency at scale in an open manner to create a worldwide impact. In fact, Facebook had built its first data center at Prineville, Oregon, and achieved a phenomenal power usage efficiency, much better than industry. And it decided to share these designs and best practices with the greater community. The first Open Compute Project Summit was launched in the same year in June with roughly 200 participants coming to Facebook headquarters, and Facebook had around 3 designs which they had contributed in that particular summit. In the last 10 years, Facebook has gone on to contribute innumerous amount of designs spanning data center, systems, subsystems, and even modules. And this is where we are today. So where do we go next? That is the interesting question in front of everyone. And this is where I want to move to the next part of my talk and address some of the challenges, what I call forcing functions in front of our industry. So what are the challenges I'm talking about? First, there's a Cambrian exclusion of workloads. Just like in biodiversity, there was a massive explosion of life roughly 550 million years ago. Similarly, today, driven by AI and machine learning, you have massive number of workloads coming up. In fact, this is a golden era of computing, as David Peterson and John Hennessy mentioned in their Turing lecture. That's the first challenge. How do we address this? The next challenge is the growing bandwidth, which affects the network. We are all familiar with the growing bandwidth of machine to human. However, that dwarfs in front of the machine to machine traffic, which is growing, primarily driven by organic growth, where data centers are built in a more massive and scaled manner. Second, you need to have more services to deliver more analytics, more insights, more workloads. And third, you always need to think of disaster recovery. So these are the factors which are driving much bigger machine-to-machine traffic, and that's the challenge in front of us. Next, disaggregation is a vital force. In early 2000, companies like Google showed how disaggregation of compute systems can be done at scale. That led in 5 to 6 years on disaggregation on the storage system. And then that trend just accelerated. It went on to have a networking disaggregation, which was driven by open compute designs. Facebook has actually contributed quite a few of them. And we have now optical devices which are being disaggregated. And we are even thinking of chips in form of chiplets, which can be disaggregated. So this is the next challenge of how to deal with this particular trend as it accelerates. And last but not least, we have to cover tapering of the Moore's law. As most of you know, Dennard scaling ended almost 10 years back, perhaps even more. And we are at the cusp of complete ending of Moore's law. So there are new ways we have to look at to continue to deliver the performance gains which Moore's law had been giving us for over the last 30 years. So with that, I have summarized 4 challenges which are in front of our industry. So what do we do next? This is where I want to get to the third part of my talk, which is the role of Symposium in the OCP community. Today, OCP community is consisting of 3 constituents. You have end users like Microsoft and Facebook and others who consume Facebook open compute hardware. You have solution providers, which are companies whose solution populate the marketplace. And you have developers, the biggest part of the community, which are developing open source solutions for both hardware and firmware and software across the stack for delivering open source infrastructure through open compute. However, with the advent of Symposium, today we are adding the 4th constituent, that of research, academia, startups, and investors, all of that who can bring additional spark of innovation within the community. So what do we do with this additional pillar and how do they engage within OCP? So for that, let me give you a quick view of how some of the activities in OCP are driven. There are a group of individuals who constitute Incubation Committee, whose charter is to define technology strategy, execution, and even provide a self-reported readout of the progress which they have done. This is one of the engagement points for Symposium to connect with. I represent that Incubation Committee as I stand in front of you today to give this talk. And these are all set of individuals which you should be completely free to reach out to as we find ways for common engagement. So what is the path forward? Path forward, the way I see it, is made of 4 steps. You engage, you innovate, you build, and you establish. So what do I mean by that? Let me elaborate that a little bit further by looking at each of the steps in detail. First, we have to look at areas of engagement. As I mentioned, OCP Incubation Committee over the last 1 year has identified 4 areas of importance for the community. First, we need to look at common platforms to build. We want to have standardization as much as possible. We don't want to have SKU proliferation because, again, that can affect manageability and control. By bringing designs together with common principles, you can achieve bigger scale for everyone. That's the first area where Incubation Committee wants the community to focus on. The next one is the modularization. As I mentioned in one of the foils where Facebook had contributed its devices, we have gone from data center to modules. Today, we have modules like OCP NIC 3.0 and OAM or OCP acceleration module for AI infrastructure. We need to leverage these form factors to ensure that we have common practices of modularization in all the areas. And this is where community can engage and Symposium can engage. The next one is on the platform security. This is a very vital importance for ensuring all of the infrastructure and devices have common policies for security. And last but not least, for manageability, we need to find a way to develop common profiles based on concepts like Regfish and Swordfish. Next in path is to innovate. And innovation can be done in many different areas like servers, compute servers, storage servers, networking. I would give an example of networking here. Networking capacity is generated by next generation ASICs, which are always growing with their speeds and feeds, number of ports and radix counts are growing, and the line rates are growing. This is bringing optical technologies and evolving topologies. For network efficiency, we are looking at ways to do power cooling and even look at the way we design a space and fiber plant in the data center. Cost and operation at scale also becomes very critical when we are looking at network efficiency. As I explained earlier, building efficiency at scale for worldwide impact in an open manner is critical. These are the 4 tenets of OCP, and this is where we need technologies to bring its impact within the open committee. Next, we should be looking at building centers of excellence. There are 3 ideas I want to share here with the community. First, we could be looking at co-packaged center for excellence. This requires a lot of multidisciplinary effort, from packaging to optics to electronics and miniaturization, and developing reliability and performance. Perhaps set of universities, research, academia can all come together to build a center like this to foster innovation in this area. Next, as we heard in previous many days in Open Compute Summit, there were talks about hardware, software co-design, both on the networking side and AI and machine learning side. This is another area where Symposium community can contribute. We need large-scale experiments and test beds for running these hardware, software co-design. Bringing that to, of course, the test beds itself. And this is where we can be building some devices which are put together in a scaled manner in various locations using OCP gear and allowing community to do large-scale experiments, run synthetic workloads, and come up with performance and improvements through various experimentation. So these would be 3 areas, but there could be many more. These are my ideas, but I would love for community to build on these ideas. Perhaps these are starting points. And in next 1 year, we can have 1 or 2 of these center of excellences, and then going beyond, we can have roadmap to build even beyond what we have here and think of new ideas. And last but not least, we need to establish deep roots with the open OCP community. What do I mean that? Technology is one area where I already referred to how Symposium can contribute. We are also looking at ways for exchanging workforce. Perhaps there is internship programs which can be established, or full-time engineers and experts who can go from academia into the industry. And at the same time, there could be sabbatical programs which could be initiated for industry personnel to go and enrich themselves in an academic environment. Workforce exchange is very critical. Next, we are talking about innovation. Building centers of excellence, building innovation is something which is bread and butter of moving this industry forward and achieving performance gains which we have achieved in the last 10 years. We can only do that with further innovation. What better place than universities, academia, and startups for fostering the spark of innovation? We can also find ways to fund. Industry can look at ways to bring these centers of excellence together by common funding, perhaps. This is just an idea, but this is how we go to the 4th step. And last but not least, industry direction can be achieved through close collaboration. So today, as I stand in front of you, I want to emphasize that Symposium is a new pillar, new opportunity. We would love for you to come and engage with us strongly. Please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is here, or any of the participants in the incubation committee. We want to go far, and we want to go together with all of you. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Sorry, there was a slight audio delay here on my side. As I shared some of my thoughts on behalf of OCP Incubation Committee, we are super excited for all of the symposium members to come and join us today on this first Featured Technology Symposium full-day event. There is a lot of work which we need to do in terms of tackling the industry challenge. And we would love to have all of you share your ideas into OCP community in terms of where you can contribute. And I can see some comments from some of the folks on the startup side. I think you guys all bring a lot of energy and new ideas, which is vital for moving the innovation needle forward. And this is where OCP can really benefit, whether it is bringing a software framework or it's bringing some new ideas related to testing workloads in a integrated networking simulation environment, or even doing some kind of a co-design. All of those things can really benefit the wider community. So, please find way to engage with us, and happy to take any questions if you have. Okay, so I think we would adjourn this talk now at this point. Thank you for joining, and wishing all of you rest of happy Friday going through the rest of the symposium talks. Thank you.